Welcome to The Pursuit, the podcast that discusses all things dating, relationships, and personal development from a faith perspective. Today's episode is entitled The Solo Advantage, where we'll tackle some of the benefits being single has over being in a relationship. Being single can really suck sometimes, and I'm speaking from experience. It can really be lonely, exhausting looking for someone, and after enough time can lead to a sense of hopelessness. But if the Bible is any guide, our single season can be just as beautiful and enjoyable, especially if we place God at the center of it. Today we want to unpack some of those advantages that being single provides us, as well as how to maximize the single season to get as much out of it in preparation for a relationship. We appreciate you spending time with us on this Baerstone production. Without further ado, here's The Pursuit.
Today, we are going to be talking about the advantages to being single. And we want to reach or kind of get at three main topics. One being our spiritual life. How can we maximize our spiritual life while being single? How can that help us be better connected to God? The other one is more, our time. What are some ways in our life that being single can, help us be, better in doing other things in our life with, the added time that, comes with being single. Obviously we're not, having to worry about a relationship. So how could that possibly, better our lives or affect our lives? And then, the last topic we're going to try to reach is mentally. So, how can that affect your mental health? And a lot of these things are connected, but, you can definitely look at it specifically as well. Like, how being single can, help you maybe be a stronger person, maybe, look at people differently, look at the opposite sex differently. So we're going to try to reach those topics. So, they're definitely all important, to consider. But, I think this is a good topic because, a lot of people today kind of view single life as bad.
Yeah. You get shamed for it.
Yeah, especially, in the dating world. Yeah, it could be embarrassing, especially, if you're, older. Have maybe a lot of dating experience, as I think is not an uncommon thing in the Adventist church, because the first episode we talked about some of the reasons why we're being single is kind of more common, I guess. We talked about numbers and other stuff like that, but there can be some definitive advantages, I think biblically, and when you just think about it, from your own life, there's definitely some advantages that come to being single. And so we're just going to look at how you can maximize that time, how, in our personal life, how we have, in our own experience, gone through these things. And so, yeah.
I like it.
Okay. So I guess we'll just go right into our first topic then. Our spiritual life, being single in our spiritual life. And so one aspect of our spiritual life, especially for me, is ministry. More time for ministry. So how has being single been able to better affect my spiritual life when it comes to ministry? Well,
you've done a whole lot.
I've done a whole lot. So, there's many stories I could go to specifically. But, I can, I'll try to give you, just bits and pieces of a few. I know right off the bat, a big part of, my life is traveling. you know.
That's right.
And a great way to meet people, especially, you know, when you're in a church where, you know, there's not so much of us in one area.
To begin with, yeah.
You kind of got to go and, you know, travel. You know, one of my good friends, you know, he talked to me about that because, you know, I was like, you know, I was looking at other girls that weren't, you know, I wouldn't even say Christian at all. And, you know, it just wasn't working out. So he told me, hey, man, you might just have to go and travel, you know, go to different places. And not saying you know, when it comes to ministry, and I'm talking about mission trips, you know, going to maybe like, you know, conventions. There's, you know, stuff throughout the year that the Adventist Church likes to do. Not saying that's the reason why you should go, you know, mainly. The main reason, you know, is to connect with God. But I mean, let's be real. That's...
It's a very important reason.
That's a very important reason. You want to meet people. Why else would you travel?
And I think a lot of people just are scared to admit that.
And we also
there's nothing wrong with that.
And then we also forget that God is a God of relationships. We go to serve, but we also go to relate with other people, opposite sex included.
Yeah. I mean, whoever it is, you know, whether it be someone from the same gender, you know, or not, maybe just, you know, whoever God, you know, wants you to meet, you know. But, you know, specifically
connecting with God's people.
Exactly. But, you know, specifically, you know, with, you know, people of, you know, the opposite, you know, gender, you know, someone that could potentially be in a relationship with you. Yeah. You know, I've been on, had the opportunity God's blessed me with to go on a couple mission trips. 2 of them have been overseas.
Nice.
Yeah. One has been to Colombia. And another was to Iceland. Colombia was last year. And a few years before, it was Iceland. And, you know, honestly, I didn't really go there with the expectations to meet anyone, you know? And I'm still single, so obviously I didn't really, you know, do anything. But, like, you know, I got to go to Iceland, and it was with GYC. Just put a plug in there. You can go see it on... the YouTube page for GYC. There's a documentary of it. You'll see me right away. Yeah. But, you know, got the opportunity to go to Iceland. You know, who wouldn't want to go? You know, and it was like a really good price because I think it was a big donation came in, so they were to cover a lot of the costs for whoever wanted to go. It was limited spots.
I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I literally only had to pay $50 plus my ticket.
Wow.
Everything else was
covered. Where do I sign up? They should do another one.
They should. That's for me and...
Any big donors out there?
Yeah, I was talking to one of the guys who used to work in GYC. His name was Jonathan Walter. I'm putting him out there. But he's a good guy. Yeah. He you know, me and him talked this last GYC, and he told me, like, we need to start doing those mission trips again.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, that's part of, like, you know, the mission, you know, of the church. And, you know, with young people, you know, definitely do it. And it was amazing. But like I said, I didn't really go there with the expectation to meet anybody. But when I went there, I mean, there was just amazing people. I'm not going to get into any names. But, you know, it was an amazing experience because, like, we connected, all of us. And it wasn't so many of us. It was maybe, like, around 40, I believe.
And this is Iceland.
This is in Iceland.
Yeah.
But we had people, you know, and the great thing about the Adventist Church, you meet people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And we had people in that mission trip from every continent outside of Antarctica.
Wow.
I don't think anybody lives in Antarctica.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Do we have someone from South America? I think we might have.
Eskimos? I don't know.
But yeah, we had people from every corner of the world, right? And we just connected so fast. And a lot of us are still in contact today. We still have our group chat on WhatsApp.
That's cool.
But I met some very amazing people. Nice. And, you know, if I was in, you know, a different age of my life,
you wouldn't have the time, bro.
I know, right? At that time, you know, this was like 2019, so still in the military, you know, still in my undergrad, you know, just a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, that is a lot.
And, you know, honestly, the mission trip almost even happened because I signed up like a few weeks before we even went. I just happened to find out about it scrolling through Facebook, and I was like,
that's crazy.
$50, Iceland.
Done.
Is meant to be. No hesitation.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, if I was in a different stage of my life, you know, maybe older, already established in my career, I mean, there were people there that I definitely, you know, was interested, you know. I'm not going to say any names, but...
Let's call it just every girl Rachel from here on out.
But, you know, whoever it was, you know, there were some great, you know, people there. There were some great girls there, great, you know, women who were spiritual and everything like that. And who knows, So, God definitely, I know there were people there that, were talking and linking up. I'm not going to say any names, but, we all had a great time.
Man, now I'm curious. You
keep saying, I'm not going to say no names.
No, I'm not saying names.
Just give me one.
I don't know who's going to be listening to this, so, but I'm just going to say there was great people on both sides. There was great men. Jim Castor was there.
Praise God, man.
That's legit.
He was there. And, it was just such a fun experience. But yeah, I mean, God definitely, will send, people for you to meet, whether it be for a friendship, or just, or a relationship, same thing in Colombia, met some great people there, and like I said, if I was in a different part of my life, I don't know, things could have been different. Yeah. I would say that.
That's true.
But it was a great experience. So, ministry, and it doesn't have to be overseas, it doesn't have to be, even out of state. It could be in your state, you can do missions and meet people, all over. And so that, I think, being single, has allowed me to, go and, just, spontaneously go on mission trips and, serve God, do great work, but also have the opportunity to meet people.
And have it memorialized in a documentary.
Yeah.
Yes. It was even memorialized. So like they have like a little historical timeline at GYC, at this past GYC, and they had a picture of us.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, so
it's a story you will tell your children, and your children will tell their children.
Telling everybody, not just my children. Everybody, no. But yeah, no, that's my story. What about you, Abs? What you got?
Well, I haven't had the opportunity like you, Mike, to go overseas, but like you were saying, you can do ministry here. And I guess the way I've had more time to do ministry from a young age, I had the opportunity to start canvassing. I think I was 16, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Like, all Camille told me was, you're going to sell books, and you're going to meet with a lot of people your age. And so I went up to Michigan, and I kind of went like you, like no expectations, like, not in the mindset of finding anybody. But I got to meet lots of great people, lots of great guys in ministry. And I was actually able to work with them, like door to door, always two people, one on one side, one on the other.
Yeah.
And it was, I had a couple of experiences, like, working with guys is just different. Like they would be on the other side and I would be on the other side, obviously. And
I feel like they always want to pair up a guy and a girl when they're doing
They try to.
I wonder why.
I think it's because, I don't know, at least for me, it gave me a sense of safety. I remember I had a really good buddy like that. Whenever we were paired up, I was like, I know I'm good. Like, whatever happens, like, I got this guy. Okay. He's like 6 feet tall, and he can beat somebody. So, it has its benefits working with guys. And I feel like not only was I able to do ministry, but I also was able to like pinpoint stuff that I wanted in a man too. Exemplified through these other gentlemen that, were also looking to serve. So I did that for a couple years. Lots of crazy stories.
As colporteurs always have.
Yeah. And funnily enough, a lot of them involve like me getting chased by a dog and the dudes laughing at me. But anyway, that's
I would have laughed at you.
That was a very similar experience I had in Iceland. Like, literally, the beginning of the video is me getting chased by a dog.
Oh, my goodness.
If you go and watch
I don't remember.
No wonder they recorded it.
Well, yeah, it was literally... No, well, yeah, like... Yeah, you can literally... I don't know. I'm not sure if you can hear the dog, but I definitely do talk about it.
That's crazy. But anyway, yeah. So I was, during my time of singleness, I was able to not only focus on, doing the Lord's work of going door to door, selling these books, but also I was able to connect with other Christ-like men. And now that I'm older, I'm no longer canvassing, but I've had the opportunity to work with Pathways to Health. Remember, guys, we went last year. Literally, all three of us, we went.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Time flies.
Time flies. I know. Yeah. So that was a great time to just, minister to that community there, and just even just pray, even by translating to them. You could just feel God work that week. So being single has really allowed me to just be able to jump on the opportunities that I've gotten. I haven't gotten as many as you, Michael, but I feel like the ones that I have had have led me to just, grow in God, but also be able to serve.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's just the best way to meet people. Like
I would agree,
because you're meeting, especially if you're spiritual, and you love God. Like you're gonna meet people who at the very least want to serve God. They're not saying they're
that's
perfect.
A good baseline.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell.
And I'm not saying they're perfect. Not saying they have everything.
Yeah.
Like figure it out, but they want to be involved, and I think that's like a great
starting point
thing, to have already established. Like, okay, this person, they want to serve God, they want to help people. That's like a good character trait to look for someone if you're trying to date in the Christian space.
Agreed.
As Josue eloquently says.
The story for me would be that, I guess pathways to health too, but even more recently, we're doing a kind of like a week of prayer at our church recently.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that we've been preparing for a couple weeks, and a couple weeks out, my sister-in-law, she reached out and she's like, "Hey, can you do some videos for this project that we're gonna do? Can you even do some filming yourself? Be in front of the camera for a change instead of behind the camera?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." But things came along, and I couldn't get in front of the camera, but I was able to kind of help with the tools that I had, which was the video thing. So we produced a couple of videos, and they turned out really well. They got some good reach, and yesterday, we actually kicked off yesterday, the week of prayer. So I'm kind of excited that I was able to help in that capacity. Whereas, had I not kind of had that time, I don't think I would be able to give it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because something about video is that it always takes longer than you think it will, and it's always the little details that get you at the end of the day. But I guess that's one of the ways that I was able to help. And I guess I also did video for Conectate too. If I remember a little.
Yeah, that's true.
They asked for a little bit of video for some of the outreach over there too. So
you were lucky that you weren't in front of the camera, because I was in front of the camera and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be easy. And then what was it? The first take, I was like,
just every other second.
But then again, I wasn't being paid for this, so I had no incentive. But we got it.
You're not good enough to get paid for it.
I'm not. But if I was getting paid for it, I would think I would have done better, I think. But it was cool regardless, Josh.
No,
you did a great job with the videos.
No, we're out here trying our best, and I'm gonna look for other opportunities to serve that require kind of that time frame. So we'll kind of see where God leads on that.
All right. Those are all really good stories, and I'm sure a lot of people have similar stories as well. But guys, definitely use your time of singleness to go and serve God, and travel, and doing missions, and even helping out with a revelation seminar or a prophecy seminar in your local church.
Great
you're gonna
idea,
be bringing,
idea.
Yeah, you're gonna be bringing in a lot of people. You're gonna be going door to door. It's a great way, to meet people and stuff like that. And so God will, when the time is right, God will definitely bring that person in, because I've heard of so many stories where, people are serving God, whether they're at summer camp, prophecy seminar, or whatever,
wherever they are,
and they find their spouse, so God can work like that. All right. Now, that being said, don't go with that mindset as, okay, I'm going here to find a wife. Go to serve God, but know that God's got your back. That's something my dad always told me.
Yeah.
Because I talked to my dad about relationships.
That's a good point, yeah.
But my dad was like, hey, son, God's got your back, and I just love thinking of that. Yeah, because God is our friend.
Yeah, of course.
He's legitimately like a friend. He's the best wingman.
Yeah.
If you think about it, because he would literally have people, like he would literally change people's schedules around so you can meet someone. God can do that. All right. But that's another story. So yeah, no, the next point we want to kind of get into is, I guess, more internal when it comes to our spiritual life and, being single. And we kind of know what the Bible, says, and, the verses about Paul, how it says, it's better to be single and things like that. And, that's a kind of weird verse, but, it does kind of make sense. But especially like when you are, because I went to a public school, public high school, public college, so I wasn't really around a lot of Adventists, period. I would say I wasn't around any outside of church. And so my options, for, dating for, and the girls that I were attracted to were mostly out of the church. And, one of the very, big things that Satan likes to use when it comes to separating God's youth from him and getting him out of the church is relationships. And recently, and I've talked to Josue about this, I was in undergrad. I graduated my undergrad about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And there was a girl there during my undergrad, and this is at a public campus. She wasn't Christian by any means, I'll say that. She told me that. But like we were good friends, Yeah. At least, that's what I was picturing. I mean, because we studied every day, like during school. We did all the projects together. She would ask me.
Yes, we're spending a ton of time together, huh?
Yes. Went over her house, did stuff like that. We would text a lot, just talk about a bunch of stuff. And, I think there was some definite like interest on her part. I wasn't really interested at the time, but over time you just kind of you grow, yeah, you just kind of grow into it, and so then we started working at the same place. We both had the same goals and stuff like that, and so I started to put my feelings out there. I think by that time though it might have been too late.
You waited too long?
I think so. But, that's probably for a good thing. But, waited too long and then, got hurt, and just, it was not good. And, that definitely affected my, spiritual relationship with God because, not only did I get hurt, but then it started to hurt my, like, time in ministry. Like I kind of took a step back. Like, I'm one of the elders at my church, a church plant that we have. And, I have, the responsibility to preach, every few weeks and stop preaching. I would, ask somebody else to do it because, my mind wasn't right. We have our young adult group at Milwaukee Central.
Yeah.
Stopped showing up because of that. And, I was also expected to be a leader there. Not, the main guy, but, I was also expected to, be there. Yeah. And so it affected everything, and I wasn't praying. I wasn't studying my Bible during this whole period of time. And man, and I knew that. And I was just like, man, and my dad said, you would tell me, it's like, man, Michael, I really haven't seen you pick up your Bible all the time. Cause I used to be in the Bible all the time. It was my favorite thing, to read and study and to figure out stuff. And then, going through that experience, it just completely separated me, No. And that's, you don't even realize it until you look up and you're like, man, this is really, And, I talked to my friend about it and stuff like that and you about it. And, I really had to, it took some time. I'm not going to lie. It took some time. And, that is exactly what Satan wants. Not saying that she's a bad person, but she's definitely, she's definitely not someone that, I could ever have a serious relationship with. And even if we were together, I don't know how long we would have been happy,
Yeah, so, especially being outside of the church, you guys.
I mean, even if she wasn't even Christian. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the core interests are already so.
And then being Adventist Christian, that's a whole other thing. Because she drinks, she goes out, she parties and stuff like that. I don't do any of those things. you know. So, the point is, you need to, really make sure you're focusing on or putting God first in every part of your life.
Yes.
All right. When it comes to relationships. And so being single, I think, can allow you to do that, and people don't realize, I mentioned how, that was, one of Satan's key ways of separating, God from his youth. I mean, the very first sin, Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
That was the issue. We always blame Eve for sinning, but God says in the Bible that it was
Adam.
Adam's sin. Yes. And so, Satan used he used Eve to get to Adam because he knew if he could get Eve, which she did, she made the mistake, he could get Adam because, Adam really loved Eve. I mean, my goodness, she was the most beautiful girl to ever live.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Created by God himself.
So, focusing on God, putting him in first. That's what I would say, helped me, or I was able to learn more about, especially about the dangers when it comes to being unequally yoked and trying to date out the church.
That's a very good point.
All right. What about you, Abs? What do you got?
I mean, for me, I've learned more recently than ever that it's so important to have that strong foundation in God, because even now, I mentioned earlier, I was talking to this guy, and in my prayer today, I found myself thinking about this guy, and then I'm like, okay, I got to regroup. I'm praying to God, okay, sure, I can talk to God about this guy later, but it's about that consecration to God. The lesson saying he's the cornerstone, he's the foundation. So I would say more than ever, I'm learning that it's so important to do our devotions in the morning so that when we do encounter our day and all the different things that come with it, we already have that time with God, and that way he can, influence us in all the other parts of the day. So that's just me.
I guess for me, one of the things that being single has helped me out in my personal journey would be that I personally like to travel a lot, as everyone knows. But even more than just traveling, far or what have you, I like to travel to different churches and visit different churches. And I've been doing that for years. And one of the reasons I've been doing that is just because, I want to encourage young people everywhere. And I guess I wanted to kind of get the layout of where these people are and who these people are.
Yeah.
So, had I kind of been anchored to one church or, even just in a relationship with one person, it's not very comfortable to travel all the time. So kind of being single allows me flexibility to do that.
Yeah.
Furthermore, in all the traveling to different churches, even here in Wisconsin, it gave me a lot of time and the ability to preach a lot. So there was a time where I preached 6 weeks in a row or 5 weeks in a row or something like that.
That's true.
And I find that really exhilarating, and I enjoy that. It's something that I didn't ask for, but God kind of found me there, and I've come to enjoy it. So now every time I preach somewhere, Abby's like, "What World War II reference are you going to use?"
It's because all he talked,
what
most
war
of his
reference are you
sermons
going to use?
are on movies. I'm not even gonna lie, and usually it's
Documentaries.
Your favorite. Who's your favorite director?
Mel Gibson? Was it?
No, Christopher Nolan.
It's the crazy director.
Yeah. Chris Nolan.
He's
legendary.
He's definitely
I
got.
use a lot of
he's
World
got
War.
some loose marbles, Mike.
Well, they're
his latest movie. Come on now.
I mean, but the results.
Anyway, Josh, go back.
But to kind of get to the point, and even the whole movie thing, I mean, I use it as a basis point. For example, the story of Dunkirk was an incredible story of resilience and of just how God delivered those men down there. And specifically, I use that illustration to kind of say that, during that, I think it was called Project Dynamo, if I'm not mistaken, where to get those boys out of Calais what they had to do was they had to commission individual boats from actual sailors. So they didn't have enough military seafaring vessels to get there. So my point in the sermon was, just like in World War II, God used individual sailors and their individual vessels to get people out of harm's way. God wants to use us individually and our vessels of influence and things like that to be able to save people out of harm's way too.
There's a lot of object lessons in, historical things, and especially in world. I do the same thing as Myrna. Like I do
it's
a
not
lot of
it's not a bad thing
to World War II.
it's just
like,
funny to me. That's all.
The stories are so amazing. I don't know.
It's just like with Josh though. It's like I can kind of almost predict sometimes what movie he's going to use depending on what he's going to talk about. But yeah, but it's true. You're right. Like you can get a lot from movies. Okay, so now that we talked about ministry and how being single helps us in both our spiritual and our service with God, let's talk a little bit more about ourselves and how it really is a time to get to know ourselves. It's a time to improve our mental health because we have more time. Once you get in a relationship, you have less time and you're more clouded in judgment. Most of the time you're distracted by the other person because they're so beautiful or they're just like perfect, especially in like the honeymoon phase. So in this time of singleness, it's a really good time to work on ourselves without distraction, or at least less distraction from the opposite sex. So like for me, in my mental health, I've been able to just read lots of self-development books that have made me think about my family dynamic, how there are just different unhealthy things that I've developed that I've learned from my parents. And through reading of these books and applying what I learned, I've been able to, learn from it, but also apply it. Like, for example, I used to be super duper like an angry child. Like I would get angry for anything. Like I would beat people up. Like my brother Josue, he took a lot of the brunt of it. But I need to say a caveat: he was a huge instigator, so he knew I would get mad.
Caveat.
He knew I would get mad, Mike, and he would do it anyway. And then the monster would come out. Okay. But now, like, through I've done lots of self-work, and I'm not that like angry person anymore. I don't get mad a lot. I feel like I've transitioned more to chill. Like I can get mad, but it takes way more. So I feel like it's just an area where God has not only worked in my life and used different material to just help me work in that area. What about you, Josh? Where have you grown?
So a good story that kind of touches upon this is the fact that in my prior relationship, a couple of years from like 4 years ago now or something like that, I found myself back then to be, I would say a little bit needy. And that was, humiliating to kind of admit, but it was who I was at the time.
Everybody starts off like that.
Yeah. And I'm not proud of that. But having that ended and kind of spent a lot of time alone since then, especially when it comes to traveling, just because my friends and family don't have the time nor the money to come and travel with me for as long as I do. I've had to spend a lot of time alone. And in that time alone, I've been able to kind of being able to self-soothe, to kind of learn strategies to kind of comfort myself and lean on God a lot more. So I lean on him for validation and for that person. Like whenever I need a little pick me up, I can go to him at any time. And that's something that's been gradual in those 4 years to where now I would say I don't even recognize the guy like who that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And being single has allowed me to being able to, or to work on that in silence, and not necessarily, put that out there, although I'm obviously doing it now. But my point is that it's giving me a nice window of time to prepare so that my next partner, you know, can deal with and experience a new and better Josue through the process.
That's awesome.
That's a good point. And I think my point or my experience with my mental health and mentally, it kind of is an extension of yours, you know, but it kind of stems from, you know, just kind of like, I don't say how I was raised, but just, you know, because when you're growing up, your parents are always like, you know, God's gonna, you know, send someone for you and everything like that, or, you know, whatever it is. And so, you know, you kind of hear that from the time you're a kid. And so, you know, when I first started getting interested in girls, and, you know, I would try to, I don't know, whatever way I would think was best to woo them, and it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
You know, I took like rejection really personal.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I think we all kind of start that way. A lot of us, you know, I don't know if I'm saying that just to make myself feel better, but like I took rejection really bad. And you know, because like I'm thinking, okay, like
what is it about
Christian.
me?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking we're both Adventists, you know, we're friends. It's not like, you know, and you know, a lot of this, you know, happened when I was like younger too, so I was like, you know, and like middle school still. But even like as I got older, you know, the problem was still there. And, you know, I just didn't take it well. And I was like, why don't you like me? Like, why don't you like me? Like, I'm a good guy. I'm funny. Like me. No.
Right now.
Good shape.
Exactly. You know, I work out. I got money. I mean, maybe I don't dress the best. I know y'all be always saying stuff about how I dress.
Okay, all I'd be saying is, wait, I'm not going to say it. I don't want
another conversation for another time.
Yeah, y'all just go easy on me. But yeah, I would take, you know, rejection bad, and, you know, it would like affect me because like I was constantly, you know, trying to like prove to them something, you know.
Yeah.
Or, you know, whatever.
That's a good way to frame it.
Yeah, you know, and so mentally that's just not a good place. And I think, you know, like when you try too hard, you know, obviously you come off as desperate, and then that's not attractive at all. So, you know, that was the part I really had to learn and come to grips with. Like, hey, you know, it's just part of the world. You can be the best looking guy in the world. You know, you're probably going to get a lot more girls, but not everybody's still going to like you. You know,
Agreed.
Some people are just not going to like you.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. And so it took me a while to get to that point. You know, I mean, I'm there now, you know, I'm like, you know, if you don't like me, fine, whatever, cool. You know, but, you know, for a while I was like, you know, it bothered me. It really bothered me. So, you know, I really had to like, you know, pray and focus. And unfortunately, I had to go through heartbreak to learn that. You know, and I hate that we have to go through a lot of pain and heartbreak to learn things, but we live in a sinful world. And, you know, some people,
just the hard truth.
It's just the hard truth, you know, and, you know, I hope, you know, whenever I have you know, my own family, have a son, you know, I'll be able to relay that to him, you know, because, you know, my dad taught me about it, and, you know, he went through a lot of the same things, you know, and, you know, it was nice to know that other people have also experienced that. But yeah, you know, that was a big part.
That's real.
And so, you know, if there's anybody out there who's just, you know, going through stuff like that, I'm just going to tell you, man, like, it's okay. Just move on.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. First of all, everybody goes through it. I don't care if you see people with, you know, a lot of, you know, who are all in a relationship and, you know, always seem to be getting dates. Everybody goes through it at least one point, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
man,
look at how you've used the time. Like you said, you're not even that guy anymore.
No, yeah. I mean, it mentally, you know, I'm in a much better place, you know, because, you know, I went through that. And, you know, you're just able to handle, you know, even outside of that, you're just able to handle things different. Like if you don't get a job, if you don't get an opportunity, you know, I'm just able to be like, okay, that wasn't for me. Let me go on to the next thing.
Yeah,
that makes
you know,
sense.
so mentally I'm much in a better spot, you know, so.
These are all great things that, like, now that we've learned them, we can apply them now, but also be ready to use them when times get rough, when we do get in a relationship, right? Because these are fears that we think we conquer, but sometimes they do come back, especially at our most vulnerable times. So it's just something that we always got to keep working on, mental health.
And also the fact that, like, you know, working on this and working on yourself while single has the added benefit of you not having to hurt anyone else in the process.
Yeah.
And you can make mistakes. You can kind of go through the growing pains that everybody does have to go through.
And your therapy sessions are cheaper. Couple sessions are more expensive. And
Is that true?
Yes, they are. And did you know that most insurances don't accept a billed couples therapy? So
what's a billed couples
like,
therapy?
For example, like you can go to therapy and you can say your insurance pays for a certain amount, like how when we go to the doctor. So when you go for couples therapy, there's some insurances that don't accept billed, like, getting paid for couples therapy. So you got to probably pay out of pocket. So it's more money. So the fact that we're single now, we can enjoy the fact that we can pay less for therapy. That way, if we ever do have to take couples therapy, at least we kind of have worked on ourselves already,
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so now that we talked a little bit about how we need to work on the mental health, or the mentals like Josh likes to call it, we got to talk about how being single is a great time to work on our relationship with others. Not necessarily love relationships, but just friendships in and of ourselves. Like making friends with girls, making friends with guys, finding more about yourself. What do I like? What do I don't like? How do I make time to enjoy these things, right? Because a lot of the times we just work and we're working on ourselves, but like there's so many things in life that are out there to be enjoyed. And being single is a great time to discover those things that you like, discover the hobbies, the things you don't like, and you have the money to do it, right? You have the money to be like, let's go out. One would hope,
yeah.
So, Mike, what about you? Tell me how being single right now has allowed you to grow relationship-wise with other people.
So, like, for me, I think, because we live in a world, especially in America, where dating is such a big part of who we are, casually dating, casual sex, especially, in public college, that was big. And then, being in the military, like guys always talked about that stuff, so
girls do too. Let's be real.
I know.
People.
Well, I'm just giving from the guys.
Military is a whole nother animal, but
Oh, trust me, man. Like I don't even want to think about some of that stuff.
About what?
I love my bros from my time in service, but like they just I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But like it's easy to view the opposite gender, or I think a lot of people view the opposite sex as just a piece of meat, or like we objectify each other a lot.
Yikes.
And they're really like I said, most of the time spent talking about the opposite gender is sexual, extremely sexual. There's nothing about the girl, she was very smart, she's nice. It's always about something other than that.
Get a look at her.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's fine, but it goes much.
Much it has that tendency to do that.
Especially just like,
from a guy's
she's cute.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Point of view,
it's
which
always
is very
about,
visual.
I want to get with this girl, to do that. It's nothing about like how she is as a person, her character,
Yeah.
And so, I feel like being single, it allows you to kind of, especially if you're intentionally single. I'm not saying like you're single and you're always trying to, go to girl, but if you're intentionally single, you want to be there. It allows you to look at the opposite gender as an actual person, not just an object to gratify your desires or something like that. It makes you like appreciate them for who they are, appreciate women for how God created them, And I think a lot of that is lost. And, there's, and that starts from a very early age, from the time where, kids, were exposed to, sexual content on our television. 70% of the shows that teenagers watch, I looked these statistics up, have some sexual content in it.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, right? And then most kids are having sex by the time they're like 15 or 16 years old. So it's just like from the very young. It's just from like the very beginning. And for most people may think that weird, but from a Christian, and an Adventist Christian standpoint, that's not good, and so, but you can see how we objectify each other. So if you're like single, especially in my life, it's allowed me to just appreciate women for who they are, and it's still a process, it's still a journey.
I see what you're saying.
I'm on, and if I want to have a successful relationship, successful marriage, I have to appreciate women for who they are, appreciate people, not, outside of someone I'm in a relationship with, just, women in general, that this is, a person that is supposed to be, appreciated, supposed to be cherished and things like that. Not just, someone to hook up with.
Yeah.
That's how I think about it. So, yeah.
That's good, Mike. What about you, Josh?
That's real. So being single has kind of giving me the freedom to, number one, get to know myself, and number two, get to know people through getting to know myself. So what do I mean by that? Going back to being able to travel, which has been a core part of kind of my life and who I am for the last couple of years. I've been able to get to kind of know and meet different women from different walks of life. I mean, a woman I met in California is a whole lot different than a girl I met in the middle of Colorado, which was an incredible story. We spent some wonderful time. Let's call her Rachel. I remember I was just flying. Yeah, not Rebecca. I remember I was flying my drone, just trying to get a really good shot of a train going over an overpass. And then she was just parked right next to me, and one thing led to another. And I remember I spent the entire day with her. And just having that time and that closeness together allowed me to kind of experience, what that closeness was like, to the point where I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wanted her to come with me on the rest of the trip.
That good, huh?
I think it was that good. But again, it's allowed me to kind of see what my type is, personality wise,
for sure.
And also just humor wise too, I guess, because again, having been in a prior relationship, I want to make sure I remedy the mistakes that I made. I don't want to make them again, and I want to make sure that any approach I do going forward, is optimized to be able to, to better my partner, and kind of be a good partner myself, if that makes sense. So, in my travels, I've wanted to make sure that I interacted with a lot of women from different walks of life, and many of them haven't been Adventists, and that's just
that's okay.
That's just the rule of the game. Mike was talking about the numbers last week, and they're abysmal.
Yeah.
Although, during my time near Andrews, since we live so close, and then I do travel to Tennessee with some regularity. And also, I mean, I've been to California 2 or 3 times in the last year alone, or something like that. Seeing and kind of interacting with Adventist girls there, from a lens of, I've been able to better myself and kind of know what I want. It's been easier to kind of get to know and to interact and to just spend time and get to know them on a personal level.
Yeah.
Kind of like Mike was saying, we as men kind of fall into the trap of objectifying women, and I'm not immune to that per se.
No.
Right. But, as time has gone on, I've been able to, mitigate that to a large degree, which has been really nice. Yeah. So it's been kind of nice to be able to, again, get to know myself, and after getting to know myself, know that girl from Colorado, which I had a wonderful time with, even though her and I are still in contact. I can't pursue that because it's not who I want, or it's not what I really want deep down, because what I really want is a girl who's... That's my point. She's not Adventist.
I think I remember you telling me that, and then something happened. I think God intervened. At least that's what my dad was saying.
Yeah, I got intervened. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Where, let's just say I didn't, trip over and kind of fall into
didn't
sin.
Stumble.
Let's put it, there you go.
Yeah.
PG over here.
I think God was protecting you.
Yeah, and
looking out for you.
And kind of like,
yeah.
a weird experience having those desires and then not being able to act upon them and not being able to kind of pursue that. That is such a...
It's hard.
It's hard.
It is incredibly hard. And I had to rely on God to kind of help me go through that. And every time since, I've been able to now approach, non-Adventist women with the same care and respect and stuff. But I know that deep down I can't I can't approach these things from a looking for something deeper, if that makes sense.
That is
because
hard,
even though I can talk up a girl and have a wonderful time and just be all charming, etc., I know that if she's not Christ-centered, she's not really who I want.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot of time for me to get there. And thank God I've been able to get there because, like I said, had God not intervened and kind of been with me every step of the way, I probably would have made some mistakes that I'm not 100% proud of. Does that make sense?
And I think that's a struggle that's uniquely Christian because, I did the same exact thing happened to me in Australia. Not with the girl I met at the airport, but another girl I met on a tour, and we linked up. Yeah,
we don't tell you everything.
What's up? I went on a tour. Tours are, for anybody who wants to know, tours are great opportunities to meet people. And it was a beautiful tour in Australia. It was an all-day thing. There was a girl and her friend there. One girl I thought was cuter than the other, so I talked to her more, of course.
Of course.
Not trying to objectify her or anything like that.
No, there's no crime in talking to the one you're interested in.
She was nice, and we kind of me and her friend, and her, we just kind of hung out during the whole thing, and we exchanged numbers, and we met up the next day. Not me and her alone, but her friend. I brought a friend of mine, and
double date.
Yeah, it was kind of like a
smooth.
It's kind of I guess quote unquote double date, but yeah, it was cool, And then after that, it was a Friday, but then after that, me and my friend had to go to a little church, youth event and stuff like that. And during that time, she was trying to hit me up to go, drink for drinks. And this is Friday night. And then, I had to explain to her, I was like, hey, I'm sorry. And I was honest. I was telling my friend, I think I should just be honest with her. I didn't want to just say no and give her, a silly reason. I told her we're actually
you had to keep
we're
it
7-Day Adventists, we don't really drink, and we don't really go, we can't go out, we don't go out on Friday nights, because we keep the Sabbath. And she's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I was like, but hey, we can go out for walks, we can go out to the park and walk maybe after.
We're people too.
Yeah, I was like, we can do something like that,
and we can go out for different kind of drinks on another day.
Get some Martinellis.
Exactly.
Get some.
That's interesting. I'm actually a fan of mocktails. I feel like that's a lost art. Spending time. Oh, it's a cocktail but with no alcohol. So
it's like you just fake mix meat.
Yeah, but with drinks.
But with drinks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was just looking at my friend, and she decided, she was like, no, that's fine. We don't have to do anything. And I was just looking at my friend, because my friend was telling me she was into me. And I was like, dude, what other guys would do something like this? Other than, an Adventist or I think a Christian dude would have went out maybe, Because
why would you?
But an Adventist dude, we can't do that. And so we were just looking at each other. I was like, man, what other guys would do that? And we were just nobody else would do that except.
And it's not just because we can't, or it's a written rule somewhere. It's more of a matter of we don't really want to because we'd rather spend that time with God.
I believe it's a part of God's law.
Of course.
But God doesn't have us nailed into the pew or anything like that. We could get up if we want to, but I know how I was raised, and I know what my beliefs are, and I know just some things that I just won't do.
Yeah,
makes sense.
And so I would have loved to, and any other different setting, or any other different day, but couldn't.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's hard.
I'm sure she respected you more for being honest. Not a lot of guys.
I haven't seen her since.
Do that,
but
I'm sure she won't forget that though. That's
sure
something that she will.
I don't think she's
ever could forget Mike.
She'll remember that. No, but for real, women remember that, that honesty thing, and you kind of put it into your standards of a guy did that for me, so it's it's not asking for much to ask from another guy. If you guys get what I'm saying.
Sure.
So it's awesome that you guys have been able to grow in those relationships. Like for me, I'm a girl. I'm not a guy like you guys, but a lot of
clearly you're a girl. I think we got that.
Yeah. A lot for me, this time of being single has allowed me to just get to know what I like and what I don't like about myself, and just be able to explore different things, and spend time doing those things, like whether it be reading or just swimming. I'm really into volunteering, which is something that I've grown into more now as an adult. And like I found a way to like volunteer and found other likes of things that I like. For example, I'm really I just bought a house and like I want to like know more about how to do my house. So like I found a way to I'm volunteering for Habitat for Humanity. Maybe I can pick up a couple tips on how to like, maybe build something in my house one day.
Yeah.
So like
renovate or
there's just so many different ways to volunteer and learn other things at the same time. And it has allowed me to connect with other people and be like, I have time. I can hang out with you. Like just get to genuinely know you, and not be like, well, I have to tell my partner about this person. Whereas like I can just be friends with whoever I want to be friends with unashamedly at this time. So that's a thing I really appreciate about being single. And you guys talk a lot about how like, men objectify women, but I gotta be honest as well. Like, especially now that I'm older, women can fall into the trap of objectifying men too.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
I know. I've fallen.
That's real.
I've gotten into the trap of objectifying man, and like just seeing a guy across the street, like he's buff, and be like, I want that, like right now. And then it's like, well, I can't right now because he's over there, and I'm Christian. I'm a holy girl. But yeah, it's not just a guy thing. It's a woman thing too. We struggle with those inner needs and. Just working through them. And sometimes it's a little bit harder because it's not expected from women. And to vocalize that, it's like you just get looked on weird. Like maybe like, oh, she's a prude or something. Promiscuous or whatever. So it's just a lot of things. So relationing with other people is a great time to do that right now.
Mm-hmm. I like it. So those were some good points there. I think another benefit that comes with being single is the fact that you have a lot of flexibility and you have a lot of freedom that when you're in a relationship you wouldn't otherwise have. And now that's not to say that, losing some flexibility and losing some freedom in a relationship isn't bad. In fact, that's something that you willingly relinquish to spend time with the other person and to better that relationship, if that makes sense. I think it also gives you the opportunity to explore some things about yourself that you didn't know. Explore some tastes. You have the freedom to, I would say, like, try different jobs. Like, if you're not 100% sure if that's what you want to do for your career. Because you're not thinking about, I have to support a family. I have to, make sure that I'm building a future for my future girlfriend and not, things like that. And you also, like, have the flexibility to make mistakes, which is something that specifically talks to me because I'm all about taking risks and risk and reward. I would consider myself a moderate risk taker, for lack of a better term, although I would definitely put myself on the riskier end of that risk spectrum. But that said, I feel like when I was in a relationship, I wasn't able to take those risks where now I was able to. So like an example of like a risk that I took that I probably otherwise wouldn't have taken was I took some savings that I had and I invested them in photography and cameras and lenses and things like that. So a client of mine needed some photography done, and instead of me hiring somebody out, I figured I could, do it myself and save myself on the money and kind of build on that where I could not only do websites but I could also expand to quinceañera photography, to wedding photography, portraits, and that's another income revenue. But interestingly enough, I didn't turn a profit on all the camera equipment I bought until 2023. So it took me 2 years with a risk that I otherwise wouldn't have taken. What about you, Doc? Is there something that, you having a little bit more flexibility and freedom that has aided you during this single season?
I guess I can't name any like big things like you, like travel or anything like that. I would consider myself more of a calculated risk taker.
Okay.
And I guess my flexibility comes into when I can do stuff. Whether it be meeting up with a friend or just like going out to California for 2 weeks to be at a friend's house, hang out with her.
Yeah.
Taking my job. So like that's the type of flexibility that I have. And I also, I guess, experience flexibility with doing the things I want to do, hobbies, and doing them when I want them. If I have the money, I'll spend it all. If I don't, I don't. I've also invested a lot in the hobbies. I'd consider personal development a hobby of mine. So I've invested in books and in different learning material that I still have to this day that I go back to every so often. I would say that's one of the most expensive things that I invest in.
Sure.
But it pays its in dividends throughout the years. So that's how I exhibit my flexibility during my single time.
How about you, Mike? What's one way you've kind of maximized your freedom and flexibility while being single?
I think right off the bat for me, it's just career path, career opportunities. Like I could leave where I'm at. I have my degree. I can get a job that pays well, where I could support.
Anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere in the country. 2 jobs, actually, working on an ambulance and, working in the lab. Mm-hmm. I could go settle down, find somebody.
For the record, I've tossed out the idea of him and I moving to Tennessee. Rejected that near College Jail. And then I tossed out Loma Linda. Also knocked that off. So.
I mean, hey, you never know what the future holds. But I mean, like, if I wanted to right now do that, I could, like, stop my medical school journey, work for a couple months, pay off, some debt, and then just move, get a job.
Yeah.
Find, somebody, settle down, and then, do that. But would I be happy on the inside knowing that I missed out on what I truly want to do?
Yeah, that's hard.
So being single, I don't really have to worry about all that. I don't have to worry about, my partner. Because at this point in my life, yeah, we've already talked about, we date with intentionality. But at this point in my life, I'm not really trying to just date, it's more like, okay, this person, they love God. They have these values. I think we could definitely be more serious about, why we're dating, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but like if I'm if I'm in a relationship, all those things are gonna have to come into play. Like, okay, where's her career taking her? Where does she want to go? The fact that I'm not really sure where I'm gonna end up in terms of medical school or whatever, I don't have to have that like stress of figuring out where I'm gonna be in life in regards to my partner. I could just go. I can just, have whatever dream I want and just go for it. I don't have to think, about somebody else. I mean, Of course I think about, my friends and I think about my family, but, they're not gonna, they want me to go and pursue my dreams,
I want you to go and pursue your dreams.
So it's just like, that I don't have that constant, like, fear. And then, you're so emotionally attached to your partner, even if you wanted those dreams, the fact that you have a partner and you don't want to be away from her, it's definitely a strong deterrent to like, okay, maybe I'll just like put that on the back burner for now and just go focus on her. And then you do that, and then what happens? Like each year it keeps getting put on the back burner until you're just like, you got kids and now you got a house, and then you're just like, well, maybe this is what God had in mind. But I mean, if that's what you want to do, for whoever's out there, that's fine, but for me, and I think if you're in a position where you're at a crossroads and you're trying to go somewhere in life when you're young, it's definitely better, I would say, to not have that, because a lot of relationships, once like you're out of college and even out of high school, people go different places, and a lot of those relationships end.
It's unfortunate.
There's very few that actually stay, because you just don't know where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
And so, and then, you're already looking at the time that you're going to spend, especially for me in a very competitive field, of trying to get into medical school, a very like tough field, where a lot of hard work and hours spent studying and working and stuff, you just, you're not going to have, it's a sacrifice, but, it's what I want. And so, like, for me, just that career opportunity, career path, and being young, I have the energy to do it. So, that's what I've been able to, maximize.
What you and I have together is that we travel a lot. We traveled a lot together. So earlier on, or like when we really started like hanging out a ton more a couple of years ago, I remember we used to, like one time I remember specifically you came over on a Monday night, and by Tuesday morning at 4 a.m. we were already on the road to a trip, and we had left for the week.
we hadn't even planned anything. We just literally planned it that night. Like, hey, you want to do this? And then you're like, sure.
We went.
That's the same trip you guys almost got chased by a bear, right?
No, but there was a little baby bear halfway up a tree, and I was scared. Not of the baby bear, but of the mother. We couldn't see her.
Yeah, we couldn't find them. Well, okay. So the full story is, we went to go find this waterfall. Yeah. So the point is, so we go in. I'm wearing regular tennis shoes, but Mike is wearing flip flops, and this is important to the story later because as we kind of like about like a third of the way through, Mike just kind of he stops in his tracks.
I wasn't sure what I was seeing. I just saw like a black.
So then, like, we just see like this black silhouette hugging a tree, and then it like turns its head. So like you could see it's like
it's alive. I wasn't sure if it was alive. The thing was so still. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like, did somebody just leave a
and then Mike,
teddy bear up there?
Being a black man, turns white. And when he turns white, it's getting real. So he immediately starts to like book it out.
Oh yeah, I ran immediately. I was like,
little flip flops. And then I started like following him, and I was like, no, Mike, wait, hold on, I gotta take a picture of this for posterity. So then I start like running back, and then I was like, I'm not gonna have a posterity if I get eaten by the mom.
No.
It was a black bear, but still, I don't care.
Yeah, well, we didn't know how to deal with it at the time. So what we did was we ran back to the car, and then I kind of found some signal, and then I looked up like what to do if it's a black bear versus a brown bear. If it's a black bear, you make a lot of noise and you act big so that they kind of get scared of you. And then if it's a brown bear, you gotta hope to Jesus, pray to Jesus,
get on your back, and cover your neck.
Yeah, and then cover your neck. But since it was a black bear, I was like, Mike, we can't like bail out. Like what? Like we're men. We got this. So then we go,
animal.
And so we went back into the woods and into the forest, and by this point it was getting dark. So we get to the waterfall. We didn't see a bear, although every stump that was like in the distance.
Yeah, no, you can't really tell.
Yeah, we can't really tell. So then we kind of just went back. We had a good time at the waterfall. The water was cold. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And it was slippery. So like we almost like busted.
It was fun though.
It was a lot of fun. And then on the way out, it was pretty much dark at that point. So we had to rely on our night vision and just praying and talking to God that said Mama Bear wouldn't find this.
Yeah, we don't stumble on her baby bear.
Yeah, exactly.
But like hearing you guys talk about the whole flexibility and freedom thing, and Michael, you were talking about career. I think being single is a great time to fully chase after your career, to like fully invest in it, since you don't have a significant other you have to give time to. It made me think of the movie La La Land. Remember, Josh, the movie?
I do.
That it was sucky. I know you liked it, Josh, but it had Ryan Gosling in it, and I'm not a huge fan. But anyway, the whole movie shows how they were each going after their own careers. Remember?
The push pull of that.
Yeah, and then eventually, since they were both going at it, they eventually had to break up. And they went fully at their careers, and they made a huge thing out of themselves.
And they both succeeded.
But then there's the other part of the movie where it shows that what would have happened if they would have stayed together. Mm-hmm. And it shows how they still would have succeeded, just not at the same level. So, it just goes to show how that this time of singleness is a great time to determine what level of success do I want to reach, and how can I maximize the time that I have right now to make it to the top, or whatever your top is, so that when I do find a partner, when I get in a relationship, I can start to relax. And because I already built up my empire, kind of, sort of, at least to the point that you can.
And let me just interject and say here that I don't want people to fall into the trap. I don't want to fall into the trap. I don't want you guys to fall into the trap that the only measurable success of your career is the one to get at.
Exactly.
Because that's the one that you tell people about. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I own my own business. I have a couple of employees. Oh, wow. How exciting. How inspiring, how impressive, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not the only level of success that actually matters.
Yeah.
Because all that time in investing into business, into my career, has come at a cost. And that cost is personal time with, someone else. Because it just takes that much time and investment. I mean, for example, in the last month, in the month of June, I worked like almost 60 hours a week. I didn't see anybody. I didn't do anything. It was absolutely horrible, but I made a lot of money and I, accomplished a lot of things, but that's not the success I really want.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's two extremes to both sides, like on one end, like I know multiple people, guys, some of them are my friends that, have lost out on their, or willingly went away from, their goals and their dreams because they were in a relationship. Sometimes that was because, they wound up and had children by mistake.
Yeah.
And sometimes they were just like, you know what, I just kind of want to settle down with her and, I'm just going to go, and focus on that right now. And then they leave, and, everybody has their, thing, but, if you want your stuff, then go for it. But on the other side, there was a doctor. I didn't know her personally, but we she let us use her house for an event that we were having. And
okay, is this for your church?
This was during our church. This is a few years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, she let us use her house. I didn't know her personally, but one person from the group knew her. But she would her family was away. But I found out later that her kids, because she had kids, she was a doctor. By the looks of her house, successful one. And she had gone on a trip with her kids, and I found out later that her kids were actually conceived via
in vitro.
In vitro, yeah. Because she couldn't find a guy. She's not married.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more common now.
Very successful. Has accomplished everything. Has beautiful house. But partnerless.
Yeah.
No time. She's very busy. So it's important to find that balance, and
and not everybody's the same. Like an equilibrium for some people may be working 70 hours a week.
Yeah, I don't want us to say that this our what we're saying here is the only way. Everybody has their
their
path
way
and stuff like that. But if you're single and that's where you're at in life, don't think of it as a bad thing. Like, you can still use your singleness, and there are benefits of being single to pursue whatever course you want in life.
And as Christians, the ultimate level of success is reaching heaven. And we can't forget that.
And representing Christ here.
Yeah,
yes.
That is the ultimate goal. Sure, you may not reach the CEO position. You may not have your own business or get that worldly success. But if you're seeking God every day, just like he says in the Bible, seeks you first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. You will be the most successful person in the world. And God is just going to lead you to where he wants you to go in your mission. And
closed doors he don't want you to go through.
Exactly.
And open them. So
yeah, so that's the success that we need to strive for in God, so that he can direct us in all aspects of our life.
I agree.
True.
So while we wrap up here, I want to make sure that we kind of touch on some actionable items and advice for other single people as well as ourselves on the different topics that we touched on today. So, for example, we talked a little bit about making time for ministry. We talked about focusing on spiritual life. We talked about taking time to work on mental health. We talked about getting to know yourself and relating to other people. And then I just mentioned, and we all told stories about our flexibility, and freedom, and also room for error and trying new things. I want to make sure that whoever's listening to the sound of my voice can really understand and realize that this single time is the best time that you have to really be the person that you want to be, right? Because whoever you are is going to attract the person that is reflective of that, if that makes sense. I want to be able to use this time to, like I said, take risks, take calculated risks, and try new things, because it is in those, or at least for me, it's been my experience where the more risk I take and the more I kind of go out where God kind of puts me, and that always seems to be in the deep end for whatever reason. But I find that the more time that I spend there, the better that the better man I become. And the better man that I become now is not only beneficial for me to live with myself on a day-to-day basis, because even when you are in a relationship, you still have to live with yourself. Mm-hmm. And not only that, you have to be a well-rounded individual when you are in a relationship, because whoever you fall in love with and whoever falls in love with you is going to fall in love with an individual. So you need to make sure that you're established in who you are. And I would, again, venture to say that to take that time and take that freedom to take risks and make mistakes now, so that by the time that you do find somebody, you're a better person for it.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I would want to say, for like the mental health aspect and just relationship aspect, some actionable things that we can do, or women can do out there is, for example, when it comes to just your mental health and getting to know yourself, something that I do that I find that's very helpful for me is I journal. And I journal.
Mike, do you journal?
Yeah. Do you guys, and do any of you journal?
I journal.
I do not.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. It's
I was curious to see if you had.
It's not for everybody, but it's something.
I journal in my head. I take notes in my head.
Yeah, see,
yeah, you do.
There you go. It's that retrospection that we're looking for. Yeah. Some people put it on paper. Some people do it mentally. But I would say that journaling is a big part of your journey. You can look back at what you've written in the past, and you can see how you've grown. It's also a tangible way of noticing things and remembering them. So I think that's a great way to just improve your mental health.
And to track your progress.
Yes, and to track your progress. And then when it comes to relating to others, I would say try to do what you like to do in a sociable way. For example, if you like to read, try to find a book club. If you like to go sailing, try to find like a group that goes sailing. If you like to give back to the community, volunteer, get involved with a group. That way you meet other people, and those people know other people. And you never know what connection you're going to make that down the line is going to be clutch into the person who you become. So I think those are things that we can do tangibly today to be better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also, those are all really good points, and I hope you guys, we're not just talking just because we want to talk. We're actually trying to help people and use our experiences, help ourselves as well, because we're all in this. We're not like some dating experts. I know for sure I'm not.
I'm not.
So I don't want anybody to think like, that we're trying to come off as like that. Like we're not. We just want to, have an opportunity, to be able to, talk to people and let them know they're not alone in all this. And, I think some things, that we can do to, while we're single that I think can be beneficial is, just network with people, go out there.
Great idea.
Talk to people, and, you don't have to make like, best friends, but just make connections, and meet people, because you never know who you're going to meet. The Adventist world is so small. Like, I feel like I meet someone who knows somebody else that I know, like, all the time. And I guess the last thing I want to kind of just talk about before we close up, when it comes to our spiritual lives, that's a very important part, obviously, and I would say the most important part of any relationship we're going to have, anything we do,
That's true.
But a verse comes to mind, Matthew chapter 6, and most of us know this verse, but it starts in verse 31, where it says, "Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or wherewithal shall we be clothed?" And, you can go further with this. It doesn't have to just talk about, you don't have to just think about eating and clothing. You can talk about also
That's a good
who
verse,
I'm going to be with. Mm-hmm. Take no thought of, who you're going to, be with, It says, "For all these things do the Gentiles seek," in verse 32, "for your heavenly Father knoweth that ye have need of all these things." God knows that, having a partner is something that we all want and need, God says it's not good for us to be alone, right? God knows those things. But he says, verse 33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
Amen.
Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. So just worry about where you are currently, And I've always, you always hear someone say, oh, they want a good guy, or they want a good girl, or they want this type of dude. Well, you remember, do you think God is going to put that type of dude in your life or type of girl in your life if you're not also that type of person?
Exactly. God's
not going to match you up with one of his daughters, with one of his kings or princes or whatever. He's not going to do that. Like, you have to make sure that, your relationship with God is first, and then he'll send you someone, because God doesn't want, he doesn't want someone to block him from someone that he also
his love
loves
for you,
or that person that he wants to bring in your life. If you're not, if you're gonna take that person down, bring them down, or take them away from him, he's not gonna send that person. He's a jealous God. He wants to first and foremost be connected with them, for eternity. So those are things to just remember, so. It's important. Like, seek ye first the kingdom of God. Like, God, he understands where we are. He understands our needs. But, the great thing about being a Christian is God does a lot of the work for us. Like, he makes, like, we think it's hard, but I mean, without God, it could be so much harder.
Yeah.
No, it can be. I'm sure it is.
It is.
I think God does the 99% of the job.
He does 99% of everything. We just have to trust in him. That's all. He wakes us up. He provides for us. He keeps us safe. There's so many things he does for us we don't even see. There's things that he's been setting up since we were born, So you just have to continue to just trust him. Allow him to guide you, because, you'll know when he's leading your life. There'll just be doors that are opening. You're just going to meet people that are going to be the exact people that you need to meet for whatever you want to do. And when it comes to that special person, you're going to meet that person one day, or things are just going to click, and then you're just going to look back on your life and how he led you to that point. And you're just going to be like, wow, God, thank you. I see why, you took me here. I see why, you had me, go here and go there, and why you had me stay where I was for that period of time. Thank you for that, and it'll just be so much great. So I think that's what I would say. Just continue to pray, continue to study the word, continue to do the ministry, God's work, and he will take care of all that stuff for you.
All the rest.
Yes.
That's
Amen
awesome.
to that.
Thank you, Michael.
So that's kind of our take on the benefits of being single, and not just the benefits, but I would say even advantages of being single. I guess overall, I just want to remind everyone and remind myself and remind you, Doc and Mike, the fact that being single in this season, this is something to take advantage of. This is something to really embrace and to enjoy. It's not always that I'm going to be able to travel as fast as I can for as long as I can. All that's going to have to change, and I'm going to have to adjust. And we all have our things that we have to adjust, or that we're taking advantage of now and enjoying now that we won't be able to later. And that's okay, because that's some of the things that we're going to want to really put aside for that relationship, because, it does require some sacrifice, and some of that sacrifice is really, really good. So next episode, what we're going to be talking about is some of the challenges of being single. So today we talked about some of the benefits, but we know that there are some downfalls and there are some challenges. So I want to make sure that we discuss and that we find some ways to have people really feel seen and connect with a lot of those challenges that people are facing, like loneliness and dealing with desires and so on and so forth. Those are some things that we need to get a handle on and make sure we master and really lean on God for as we prepare to enter in a relationship later on. Smyrna, how about you take us out in prayer?
Father in heaven, Lord Jesus, thank you so much for this beautiful day that you've given us. Thank you so much, Lord, because like Michael said, you do it, all of it, most of it, 99% of it, Lord, and all you ask us is to seek for you first, and everything else will be added, Lord. So at this time, I want to thank you for the single season that I'm in. Thank you for the opportunities that you give us during the single season. Help us, Lord, to ground ourselves in you in order to be able to use this time wisely, to grow and just not only be better people, be also better followers of Christ, but also be ready for when that person comes into our lives, Lord. I pray for all the listeners out there. You know their situations, whatever they may be in. Lord, help them seek you first so that they too can find peace. Thank you for everything. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thanks for spending time with us in The Pursuit. We're very excited about continuing the conversation on Christ-centered dating. We'd like to hear what your thoughts were on the episode, or even a personal story that fits this episode or that topic just right. You can do so on our social media channels at The Pursuit, all one word, .bs, or on our website at baerstone.com/The Pursuit. Again, that's Baerstone, BAER, stone.com/The Pursuit. You can find future episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as our website, where you'll find exciting bonus content we'll be releasing very soon. A special thanks to Attractive for making this episode possible. Attractive is a web firm that specializes in making and maintaining uniquely functional and appealing websites for Adventist organizations. Whether it's your local church, junior academy, conference, or camp website, Attractive would be more than happy to make sure you're representing Christ in an attractive and functional way in the digital realm. You can find more information about Attractive and their services at itsattractive.com. Again, that's all one word, ITS, attractive.com. Thanks again to Attractive for making this episode possible. We appreciate you spending time with us, and I hope you'll join us again soon. Cheers.